In this video, we're going to go over why the N54 is kind of crap. So, the N54, probably BMW's most laughed at and memed engine. Let's start with the basics. So, the N54, it's an inline 6, twin turbo, direct injected 6-cylinder with Vanos on the intake and exhaust. It's got a compression ratio of 10.2 to 1, and its bore is 84 millimeters and the stroke is 89.6. It also has a red line of 7,000 RPM, so it's got the exact same average piston speed as an N55. The three biggest differences between the N54 and the N55, the biggest difference in my opinion is the fact that the N54 is a closed deck design, whereas the N55 is an open deck. The closed deck is much stronger than the open deck. The N55 also has Valvetronic, the N54 does not, which is something else that's not going to go wrong, but it is also a really good feature to have. First, petrol mass-produced turbocharged engine, and they went a bit overkill. So again, aluminium block, forged crankshaft, forged connecting rods, forged pistons. In a lot of respects, the N54 is better than the N55. It's a lot more capable of making power, and it doesn't seem to suffer the same issues with rod bearings. Now, I think rod bearings on N55s is blown out of proportion. I think if you have any car that's poorly maintained, don't have the oil on full, and then you give it a workout, obviously it's probably not gonna last very long. What most people do, the N54 came in the 135i, 335i, the 1M Coupe, and the X5 and X6, as well as the 7 Series and the 740i, the FO1. The biggest problem with this engine, in my opinion, is not the engine, it's the sort of person that buys it. The sort of person that buys it finds these cars for $3,000 or $4,000. They're often buying the cheapest one they can find that is likely not had an easy life and been treated very well, and then they throw a whole bunch of eBay parts at it, downpipe, intake, eBay intercooler, a tune, often as well as an off-the-shelf map from MHD or Boot Mod, and then they just start driving the hell out of it, and then they wonder why they're unreliable. Now, the biggest thing I've learned with working on cars for about 6 years is that no engine's perfect, and to some degree they're all the same, in the sense that there's a few common problems with each individual product, car and engine combination, but often if any engine's treated well and any of the common problems are looked after, then they're really no better or worse than any other engine. A lot of people say that Toyotas are bulletproof, but I've seen many problems with Toyotas. The N54 is actually a really capable engine. It just needs a few little supporting mods and then it can make a lot of power. But the problem with this is that with BMWs, you really are spoiled for choice. If you want a modern turbocharged BMW that you can do a few little things to, assuming it's mechanically sound before you do so, then you really are spoiled for choice. You've got the N54, N55, and the B58 are the three most common ones that people like to modify. The B58 is a much better option than the N54, but it comes with a price tag. The main problems with the N54 are the fuel injectors. They're the piezo crystal style of injectors, which are really costly to replace. They will need replacing at some point, 100%. The turbos will likely go at some point, especially if it's a higher mileage and it's been modified, tuned, and also abused. The high pressure fuel pump will likely fail as well, but in all reality, if they're looked after, they really aren't that bad. I find that often the engine is not really the problem, it's just that the car they're in is often the bigger problem. A lot of old E90 335i's are getting really old now and they're getting pretty crusty. High mileage, worn out, not worth much, but in theory, if you can find a really clean, well-maintained 135 or 335i with the N54, you're really onto a good thing. Most cars that came with the N54 have got the ZF 6-speed. The ZF 6-speed is a very strong transmission in theory, but they're just getting old and a lot of them haven't been maintained properly. There's a bit of a theme here with this engine. The engine's not too bad, it's just the stuff around it and poor maintenance. But yeah, the ZF 6-speed, and there was I believe it's a ZF, there was a 7-speed DCT which was in the 135IS and 335IS, which I believe was only for left-hand drive and the North American market specifically. We never got that. And then there's a 6-speed manual. 6-speed manual's the way to go in my opinion. An N54 with full bolt-ons can make around 500 horsepower, which is pretty reasonable. 500 horsepower on stock turbos, and I believe there's a lot of people making 600 to 700 horsepower before they really need to do any internal engine work. Mostly just head stud and head gasket, which is, it's not too bad really, all things considered. So yeah, the N54 in theory is a really good engine and you should not be afraid of it. It's the stuff around the engine and often the car that it's in that's the problem. By now, most control arms, shocks, bushings, coolant pipes, plastic fittings. They're probably all getting old and brittle now, and if you buy one that hasn't been looked after, you'll probably be stranded every other week. Hence why a lot of people don't really want to deal with this. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe now. Check out the store. We've got some awesome merch available, and I'll see you in the next video.